Before you took your first breath, you made a promise, not in words, not with thoughts, but through vibration, through the resonance of your soul's deepest truth. A silent agreement forged in the realm between lives, where memory is not stored in the mind, but in light. In that timeless space you knew. You saw the lineage you were entering, the generational patterns flowing like rivers through your bloodline. And you agreed to return, not just to live, but to heal. You were not randomly placed into your family. You chose it, with clarity, with love. Not because it was easy, but because it held the precise conditions your soul required to grow. The pain, the silence, the emotional echoes, these were not accidents, they were markers, invitations, opportunities for transmutation. Weiss, the pioneering psychiatrist whose work opened windows into past lives and soul contracts, taught us that souls reincarnate in clusters. Families are not coincidences, they are classrooms. Within the dynamics of mother and child, sibling and father, lie echoes of unresolved patterns from many lifetimes. What feels like conflict is often memory. What feels like resistance is often recognition. And beneath the surface tension is the sacred pull of unfinished healing. Your ancestors carried wounds they could not resolve, trauma too heavy to speak. Emotions they numbed with silence or survival. Over time, those energies crystallized, passing invisibly through generations, not just through stories or behaviors, but through the very field of consciousness. And then, you came, not as punishment, not by accident, but as the one who said yes, to be the bridge between the past and the possible, to walk into the fire with eyes open, to remember what others forgot. But how do you know this is true? It begins as a subtle ache, a knowing you cannot explain, a pattern that repeats no matter how far you run. Perhaps it shows up in your relationships, in your body, in your dreams. Perhaps you've always felt different, like an outsider in your own family, yet strangely bound to them by something invisible and unspoken. That pull is the echo of your promise. It's the soul's memory of its agreement. And when you honor it, when you begin the inner work, the reflection, the forgiveness, the release, you are not healing just yourself. You are releasing knots in the tapestry of time. You are creating new pathways for those who came before you and for those who will come after. You become the alchemist of your lineage. A sacred disruptor of repetition, a conscious participant in evolution. This work is not always seen, but it is always felt. The moment you choose presence over reaction, love over fear, compassion over blame, the energy shifts, and that shift ripples across dimensions. You don't need to have all the answers now, you don't need to see the full path. What matters is the remembering, the return to the promise, the quiet, luminous moment where you say again, yes, I am here, I remember, I choose to heal. And as we continue, we will walk deeper into this remembering together. If something in these words resonates, if you feel the vibration of truth moving through your chest, know that this space was made for you. This is the journey you were born for. Let your soul lead, and if you feel the call, subscribe to this channel, not out of habit but out of resonance. Let this be your temple of remembrance. Every family is a mirror, not always reflecting what we wish to see, but rather what we must see. The traits that trigger us, the wounds that stir us, the patterns that seem impossible to escape, all of them are signals. And when we stop resisting what they reflect, we begin to decode the hidden curriculum of our incarnation. The soul doesn't choose comfort, it chooses growth. So, you may have chosen a father whose silence carved absence into your heart, a mother whose fear shaped your sense of self, siblings who never saw you, dynamics that felt more like battlefields than sanctuaries. But beneath those emotional landscapes lies a deeper design, one that your higher self accepted with courage before entering this life. Weiss revealed through his patient's regressions that the soul returns again and again to the same spiritual classroom. You may reincarnate with the same souls in new roles, the mother who once was your child, the brother who was once your lover, the abuser who was once your victim, not as punishment, not as fate, but as opportunity. The soul seeks completion. It seeks resolution, and where love was withheld, it returns to restore it. You might notice this in the way you react so intensely to certain people in your family. A look, a word, a silence can feel disproportionately heavy. That intensity is not random. It is memory. It is soul-level resonance calling your attention inward, asking what needs to be healed here. Sometimes healing begins not by confronting others, but by witnessing ourselves, the roles we play, the masks we wear, the defenses we inherited. What if your anxiety is not yours alone, but a transmission from generations before you? What if your urge to overachieve, to people-please, to disappear, is an echo of someone's survival? Healing the family karma does not mean changing the family. It means transforming the relationship you have with the energy that flows through it. And that begins with awareness. When you name the pattern, you disarm it. When you honor its origin, you begin to release its grip. It is here that the inner child often awakens, that younger version of you who witnessed more than they could process, who learned to shrink, to shout, to shut down, not out of weakness but as adaptation. That child still lives within your nervous system, waiting for your adult self to say, "I see you, I believe you. You are safe now." Family karma is not just in the story, it's in the body. The nervous system records what the mind forgets. So the healing must go deeper than thought. It must become somatic, cellular, vibrational. You do not only need to remember, you need to re-feel, reparent, reintegrate. But this does not mean staying in pain. It means alchemizing it, turning the inherited sorrow into wisdom, turning the silence into song. And slowly, without needing anyone to change, the story changes. Because you changed, you are the pattern interrupt, the sacred rebel. The soul who chose to feel what others suppressed, to say what others buried, to transform what others repeated. And though it may feel lonely at times, you are not alone. Millions across the world are waking up to this same mission. You are part of a wave, of souls returning not just to live but to liberate. What if the greatest gift you can give your ancestors is your freedom? There comes a moment on the soul's path where awareness turns into action. Real healing does not come from intellectual understanding alone. It emerges when you begin to choose differently, when you interrupt the automatic responses inherited from generations, when you feel the rise of old pain and pause, breathe, witness rather than repeat. Each time you make that choice, you are shifting timelines. You are editing not just your story, but the entire energetic field around your lineage. Healing is not dramatic. It is quiet, subtle. It lives in the space between reaction and response. It unfolds in the invisible. Weiss spoke often of this energetic space, how the soul carries unresolved emotional frequencies from lifetime to lifetime until they are felt, loved, and released. When you engage with those frequencies from presence instead of defense, you begin the process of transmutation. You become a field of new information. It might begin with forgiveness. Not because the other deserves it, but because you do. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not excusing. It is freeing your nervous system from the grip of the past. It is releasing the illusion that carrying pain protects you. Forgiveness is a gift you give your body, your mind, your future. Then comes boundaries. Not walls, but sacred parameters. You begin to choose what energy you allow, what behaviors you no longer enable. You do not need to fix or rescue anyone. That is not your task. Your task is to remain aligned with your truth, your peace, your integrity, even when others do not understand. And with time, compassion deepens. You begin to see your parents not just as parents, but as souls. Souls with their own karma, their own childhoods, their own pain. And when you stop demanding they become who they could not be, you start reclaiming the love they were able to give, however imperfectly. This too is healing. The energy of choice becomes your sacred tool. Every time you break a cycle of blame, of silence, of self-abandonment, you are not just choosing for yourself, you are choosing for your entire lineage. Energy moves backward as well as forward. Your ancestors feel your choices. The energetic field they left behind is responsive. This is what makes you the transformer. the healer, the one who said yes. Sometimes this journey will feel isolating. You may be the only one in your family who sees the pattern, the only one who feels the weight. But that sensitivity is not weakness. It is your gift. The soul chooses the one with the greatest capacity to feel, because it is through feeling that the energy is released. You are not here to carry the pain forever. You are here to honor it, feel it, and then let it go. Through meditation, through ritual, through honest conversation, through movement, through breath, through choosing peace in the middle of chaos. Healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means relating to it differently, from a place of choice, not compulsion. You may wonder, how long will it take? There is no timeline. Healing unfolds in spirals, not straight lines. Some days you will feel free. Others, you will meet the old ghosts again. That is not failure. That is the work. The soul is not in a rush. It is in devotion. So be gentle with yourself. You are unweaving generations of silence. You are returning your bloodline to harmony, one conscious breath at a time. This is sacred work, and you are exactly where you need to be. The deeper you go, the more you begin to remember, not with your mind, but with your being. There is a sacred intelligence woven through every step of your journey. Even the moments that felt like detours or delays were part of the design. The soul does not forget its agreement. It only waits for the personality to catch up, for the veil to lift, and for the remembrance to rise like dawn from within. You are not just here to heal. You are here to awaken to the truth that you are more than your story. That your existence is not an accident, but an answer, a response to a call sent out through generations, a call for resolution, for liberation, for wholeness. That call moved through time, through space, through spirit, and you answered it. Weiss reminds us that in the space between lives we meet our guides, we review the past. We choose the circumstances of our next incarnation with intention, not punishment, not karma as suffering, but karma as curriculum. What you face now you once chose, not as a burden, but as a path toward expansion. This is not always easy to accept, especially when the pain runs deep, when the wounds still sting. But within the pain lies potential. The suffering was never the point. The transformation is, and you are not doing this alone. You are supported, seen, guided. Even when you forget, even in your most difficult moments, you are surrounded by the quiet presence of those who walk with you beyond the veil. Ancestors, guides, soul allies. Their love is subtle but unwavering. You may feel it in the silence, in synchronicities, in dreams. In the sudden sense that you are not alone, even when no one is around. They remember your agreement, even when you do not, and they celebrate every step you take toward it. To sustain this work, you must cultivate inner space, stillness, reflection, the willingness to sit with what arises, not to fix it, but to witness it. Truth is not found in noise. It is found in silence, in the breath, in the pause before reaction. This is where the soul speaks. Journaling, meditation, gentle movement, time in nature. These are not luxuries, they are necessities, portals that reconnect you to the frequency of your essence. You are not just healing your family, you are recalibrating your vibration, returning to your original rhythm. And slowly, you begin to see the shifts. What once triggered you now invites compassion. What once felt unbearable now opens your heart. You begin to respond, not from your history, but from your presence. And the energy around you changes, because you've changed. You become a new pattern in the field, a source of coherence. Others may not understand it, but they will feel it. The peace in your tone, the steadiness in your eyes. The quiet confidence that comes not from having the answers, but from remembering the truth. This truth does not need to be shouted. It emanates, it invites, it holds space. And in that space, others begin to feel safe enough to look at themselves, to soften, to breathe, to begin their own journey. This is how healing spreads, not through force, but through frequency. You are a lighthouse in your lineage, not because you are perfect, but because you are present, not because you've never been lost, but because you've chosen to remember. And in remembering, you are fulfilling the very promise you made before you were born. Wholeness is not something you achieve, it is something you remember. It has always been there, beneath the layers of protection, beneath the inherited patterns, beneath the noise. You were born whole. The soul never forgets its nature. It only waits for the right conditions to awaken that truth again. And this journey through pain, memory, and forgiveness has been your path back. The healing of your family's karma is not separate from your spiritual evolution. It is your spiritual evolution. The soul doesn't ascend by escaping the human experience. It ascends by embracing it, transmuting it, elevating it with awareness. You did not come to bypass pain. You came to alchemize it into wisdom. Weiss often said that our purpose is not to judge the past, but to understand it, and through understanding, to rise beyond it. What your ancestors could not do, you now can. Not because you are better, but because you are ready. Your consciousness has reached the threshold they could not cross. And by walking it, you carry them with you, freed, honored, remembered. Look at how far you've come, not just in your outer life, but within. The inner terrain you've explored, the courage it took to feel what others suppressed, to pause where others reacted, to choose love where fear once ruled. This is sacred. This is transformation. You may still have questions. You may still face moments of doubt or return to familiar pain. That's natural. But something in you has shifted. You no longer identify with the wound. You witness it. And that shift, subtle as it may seem, is everything. You're not here to fix anyone. You're not here to save your family. You're here to embody truth so clearly, so quietly, that it becomes impossible to ignore. You are here to be the evidence of what is possible. And now the question becomes, how will you live from this remembrance? Not as an obligation, not from pressure, but from alignment. How will you move through the world as someone who chose to return to heal? How will you speak, love, rest, serve? Let the answers rise not from the mind, but from presence. Sometimes your service will be visible. Sometimes it will be invisible. Sometimes it will look like holding space, sometimes like walking away, sometimes like forgiving, sometimes like saying no. Every expression matters. Every conscious choice ripples through the field. You have become a tuning fork for healing, a transmitter of calm in the midst of chaos, the soul that remembered not only its pain, but its power. And this is just the beginning. This life is one chapter of a much greater story, but your choices now affect all of it. This is how karma is rewritten, through presence, through love, through you. And if something within you stirred as you listened to these words, if a memory woke up, if your breath deepened, if your chest opened, then you are not alone. You are part of a movement, a return, a remembering. There is more to see, more to feel, more to uncover. The journey continues, deeper still, deeper. If these words touched your soul, subscribe to the channel and click on the video that just appeared on your screen. It was chosen especially for you. I know you'll love it.